Welcome. News and hotness. Second half of March. What do you need to know? Where are things at? What are some new becomings? What is on the hotness and why is it there? What is stuff you need to know going on in the tabletop industry second half of March? Let's go. Let's do this. First up, right into things. This was a little bit more serious. A little game related, but also serious. One of my most hyped games of 2022, but also 2023, it sort of had, an MIA sort of sticker. Sankokushin, Axis Mundi. Pause right now. They are on a pause. They are on a hiatus. One of their core team members is involved or in some way, shape, or form affected significantly by the war that's going over on Ukraine. I shouldn't need to say this. I shouldn't, and I'm going to say it anyway. When it comes to game stuff versus real life stuff, real life always trumps. And the fact that I even need to say that, because there's going to be somebody in the comment section, or there's going to be somebody over in the Board Game Geek forums or Reddit that's going to be like, man, I can't believe. No, don't be a PRICK. Real life stuff always trumps this. So they take whatever freaking time they need, get all that stuff in order, and eventually, whenever they can, whenever they decide to, and you know what, even if they can't in the future, that's okay. I hope they can. I wish them the best with everything. I'm looking forward to it, whatever they have, even if it's just more artwork in the future, and that's all that ever came of it. That's okay. That is the first thing up this week. Second thing up this week, Catan is getting a soccer edition. All of a sudden, it flew to the top of the Board Game Geek rankings, and people were like, is this an April Fool's? Catan soccer fever. It's a scenario-based situation for soccer and / football fans everywhere, they say. Every time you build a city or a settlement, it's match day, and winning soccer matches gets you benefit, including the team that leads the league standings at the end gets extra victory points. So you basically get to add it, and you have a package that gives you a soccer pitch and flick your soccer ball at the goalie. And if it lands the right side up, you score, and score the most goals, you win. Kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of not taking itself too seriously to go from one end of the spectrum on news point number 1 to the other end of the spectrum on news point number 2 here. And I just kind of like it. I don't know. I'd love to play a Catan game with that included. Seriously. I am not one of those Catan haters. Like, Catan was my gateway game in undergrad. Like, did it get cut, stabby, and sometimes with some of those games, emotions running high? Absolutely. Would I trade that for anything? No, not one bit. I would play Catan if somebody got it out today. If they said, hey, Chris, I'm coming over to your house. Do you mind if I bring a game and we can play it? And I said, yeah. And they brought over Catan. I'd totally play that. Totally. Is it my favorite game? No. Are there some significant faults with it that I don't really like? Yeah. Can I have fun with it at the same time? Yeah. Winning's not everything. Yeah, it's not. Hashtag deal with it. Okay? Right. On to the next thing. So what else we got going on? You probably didn't see this one. This one was sort of under the radar. I don't even think there's a Board Game Geek entry at this point yet. Just announced, coming to retail. They are having, you may remember Modern Art, right? Modern Art that CMON sort of got the license for. They've published it in several different language editions. I'm still trying to find an edition of the Korean one because the art is the most fantastic in that one. But they're doing now classic art. And I asked on Twitter because they posted it, and it was sort of like, by Knizia, that's going to be what it is. The question was, is this just another retheme like the other language editions? No, different mechanics. And that's going to be the question, is how does it compare? Is it better than the original? Or is it sort of like Knizia's tiling, right? When you've got your Tigris and Euphrates, you've got your Yellow and Yangtze, you've got your Babylonia. You've got now classic and modern art. I'm intrigued. Good auction games are not the easiest to come by, ones that really hold up this test of time. And so if they can do one up on this, I'm intrigued. A Yellow Yangtze, Tigris and Euphrates sort of vibe there comparison wise. I'm all for it. So show me what you got here. Plan B Games. Plan B Games is also now coming out. They have just recently announced, I remember, side note here, I remember when they were like, we like Century. That Golem edition that we did? No. We're not doing any more of that. That was a one-off. Then it was a 2 off. Then it was a 3 off. So they're announced a big box edition now of Century, which I'm assuming will eventually be the Century Golem big box too, with a new mini expansion that's going to be included with that. You're getting the new expansion called Golden Deals, but you're also getting all of their other promos that went along with this. Again, play them all independently, combine them all, 7 different ways to play if you do the 3-2-1 factorial. Then you're also getting the expansion which comes with clear cards, effects on them, giving you new ways to acquire and modify your cards in play. So I'm actually intrigued. I think that mini expansion alone could make me want to go back to any of the individual ones, especially the latter 2 of which I was not really hugely enamored with in the first place. And so, you know, color me intrigued. Plan B Games. Yeah. Breathing life into a product like that. I like that. I like what I'm seeing. Speaking of breathing new life into a product, we have from Trition Noir. You may remember them. They are the company that took their version of Assassin's Creed and then actually got the Assassin's Creed IP and made an Assassin's Creed miniature-based stealth sort of crawler type game. They just announced that there is going to be a new edition of the Brotherhood of Venice, the Apocalypse. You're going into the jungle in pursuit of a rogue assassin. And I believe that they put the disclaimer out there that this, unlike all of the others, is not based off of a previously explored realm of the video game. So take that for what you will. But again, I do this almost every single freaking week. We talked about Monster Hunter. We talk about Slay the Spire. We talked about Dead Cells. Every single Hotness news video, I feel like I'm talking about another video game coming over to the tabletop. And this, obviously already there, but more of it, right? More of it. This expansion has more environments, enemies, weapons, equipment created from scratch, they say, by Trition Noir. New gameplay, new open world system. Does that intrigue you? Does that excite you? Is this actually of interest to you? I mean, this game is rated as the rethematic incorporation of their previous one, V Sabotage, at 8.5 on Board Game Geek. Now, again, sitting just under 700 ratings at the time of me filming this, but 8.5 is still pretty good, no matter anything over triple digits. So take that for where you will. Now, no date has been announced yet for the crowdfunding campaign, but I think they're shooting for like middle of the year, maybe like end Q2, sometime middle Q3. So take that for what you will. I'm sure more details will become available soon. Now this is getting into sort of the wild side of the tabletop scene. There was an incident that was recently reported. Wormwood Tables reported Origin Tables, or GTT, Game Theory Tables, their campaign as, you know, a copyright infringement. And so the Origin Kickstarter page for their most recent tables, the Origins Lit tables, starting at about $1,000, was taken down this past week and has been resolved to this point. And there were some accusations back and forth about the picture was taken right off of the page. And there's a YouTube video on the Origins page now, which is back up, like I mentioned, talking about what happened from their point of view. And so it's just some drama on the hobby scene, right? Like, this should be posted over on Reddit, the hobby drama subreddit. And because there is actually one for that, folks, and boy howdy, you sometimes want to go there and you sometimes want to stay as far away as you can. But that was a little bit of drama there in case you missed it. 2 other big things of note here as final news tabletop roundup, going a little bit broader here with one of them. Disney has finally announced, if you are a Disney fan, if you are a Ravensburger fan, if you are a TCG fan, or if you're not a TCG fan either, Disney's Lorcana. They recently announced at the end of 2022 Disney's foray into the TCG scene as a, you know, deck building, deck construction, head-to-head dueling Magic the Gathering Pokemon style card game. Just recently announced what you're going to be getting, when you're going to be getting it, and how much it's going to cost. And they have said that August 18, you will be able to get it at hobbyist and specialty stores, while September 1 is going to be the broad mass market release of set number 1. And that's going to include 3 different starter decks, which are going to come in North America, $16.99 a piece. Well, the booster packs, booster packs are $6. Holy frick, Batman. That's insane. But you can get a little bigger booster extravaganza with like damage counters and maybe other accoutrements and deluxeifications for like $50 if you like that ilk. And then set 2 is going to come later in the year in terms of November. The starter decks are going to be Amber and Amethyst, Sapphire and Steel, and Emerald and Ruby. But they all contain pre-balanced and ready to play decks of 60 cards. Do we know how to play? No. Are people going to care? No. Are people going to speculate and buy it like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and everything else in the secondary market to try money? Yes, because they did it when it was announced, just with those promo sets that came out at the Disney whatever convention last year. So that's what you got to know. There's going to be 2 foil cards in the packaging. You're going to get 11 damage counters, a tracker token, a paper playmat with your booster pack of 12 random additional cards to go along with the chapter starter decks. How do you feel about that? The first chapter gift set was what they were calling it. You know, that's sort of like the bigger deluxeified Pokemon set, so you get a couple booster packs with. There's a first chapter Illumineers Trove as well. That's sort of what I was alluding to. It comes with the full art storage box, 2 alternate art deck boxes, 8 booster packs, damage counters, and a how to play glossy art book. So take that for what you will, but I hate the TCG model. It's tempting. It's very, very tempting and alluring, but we'll see and we'll go from there. Now, next up, I've been clamoring, you've heard me talk about it several times, Queen's Feldian proportions of the Sprawlopolis iterations, if you will, of the previously not available prints of Feld's games. Now we are seeing Marrakesh. Marrakesh is sort of the one that has been intriguing me the most. I have Hamburg. I haven't done a video on it yet, but I'll get my impressions out there eventually. Blessing curse. And we're going to see what Marrakesh really holds in store for us, because Queen, in combination with Devere, has recently just announced that, or well, recently within the last month or so, but for more details, announced more of a what's going to be in the Essential Edition, sort of like a not deluxeified, not completely over the top, ridiculous triple digit price point for a game that should only cost you $40 to begin with style of game. Yeah, they've given some more details. What are those details? Well, you can see here that the Essential Edition versus the Classical Edition. The Classical Edition was the non-deluxeified version that Queen put out on crowdfunding, and you can see they run through, and I like this comparison. I like this head-to-head comparison. A lot smaller board. Again, is that going to be an issue? Is that going to be a Cthulhu Death May Die? Player boards are smaller. Supply boards, everything is just a little bit smaller, including the pawns themselves. I'm assuming at least they look smaller, at least the graphic does. You're getting a less wooden components and more of the cardboard as well there. Again, smaller components there, smaller components there, smaller components. If they're not too tiny, I don't really care. You know, that's okay. This is all the identical stuff. So there's really not that much difference. And if the price point is going to be less, significantly less, color me intrigued. Now, again, you know it's going to be less than the Classic Edition, but it's going to Kickstarter. This is going to be the 3rd Kickstarter, or 4th Kickstarter, but the 2nd one within a couple months, because I'm assuming this is going to launch relatively soon. Queen does not put stuff out there that far in advance, so you have to think that this is going to be coming very, very soon, and I am going to be heavily invested in this one because I don't want to pay triple digits for this game. I'd like to try it out, but but it's interesting to see. Is this feedback to the reaction that they've gotten in terms of this isn't passing the mustard at retail and people aren't picking up the Classic Edition for that price point? I have to wonder. I hope, but we'll see. What else is going on in terms of the hotness this month? Well, this month has been, sitting at the top of the hotness the second half of the month is Star Wars: The Deck Building Game. My review is out. It's not flawless. It's not perfect, but boy howdy, is it a heck of a lot of fun. And even if they do nothing else with this, FFG has a real winner on their hands for non-board game aficionado players and people just looking at it as a Star Wars IP. Now, they have some real good systems set up there potentially for an expansion or two, but I don't know what direction they're going to take it because the draw deck is really big already and it just gets bigger if you're going to add more cards. So I have no clue where they're going to go with this. Again, give me, inject it straight into my veins, a cooperative in the line of Lords of the Ring or Arkham Horror or Marvel Champions, and I will literally pre-order that, as soon as it comes out. But that's, been sitting at the top of the hotness for that reason. The other one is Earth from Inside Up Games. Inside Up Games has a real smashing hit on their hands here. Dice Tower basically gave it almost perfect scores across the board, and it's making its waves as it gets sent and is being delivered currently to backers all across the world. I'm yet waiting for my copy, but I have no doubt that it will exceed my expectations because, frankly speaking, my expectations were relatively low as a resource management sort of Tableau engine building style of game with a theme that I, again, frankly speaking, wasn't really a fan of. But I looked at the mechanics and I looked at the gameplay video on the Kickstarter crowdfunding page and I said, yeah, this is going to be a good game. And it's looking like that because people are really going after it right now as well from that aspect. And always confuses me when people think that they're just going to like all of a sudden get this game that's rocketed up the hotness, has some exclusivity, isn't going to be widely available. And they're like, I don't want to pay anything more than what you paid. Yeah, good luck with that. You're going to have to find once in a blue moon there and be very, very patient because nothing that grinds my gears more than that sometimes, especially with usually the attitude in which they post that. Anyway, side rant tangent there. A couple other games that are hot, hot, hot. Darwin's Journey is finally in the process now of being delivered. One of the top Euro games, worker placements, raising money as a whole back in 2021. 2 years to deliver. The real question is, can it live up to the excitement? Can it even surpass the ones that were at the top of 2022? I mean, like things like Carnegie funded and delivered and were incredibly highly rated in the time that this one took just to sort of before it even got to people. And so that's the question, right? Does absence make the heart grow fonder, or is it just going to be surpassed by those that have come subsequent to it? No clue. It's on my trade list. Love to try it out. Got a couple others like this bad boy back up here. This bad boy back up here. Reviews coming shortly of those ones if they're not already out by the time this video airs. But again, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's really solid that I don't need to pay twice the price of these four nowadays because you have a plethora of options. So take that for what you will. The other one, Stationfall. This game is going to be on a separate list of mine, another video coming out later at the end of this month of updated wish list of games I need to pick up and get because, I mean, it's a crazy 2 to 8 player, 2 to 9 player, whatever it is, heavier version of a social deduction game. And I have nothing like it. There is nothing like it. It's divisive, if to say the least. Some people are loving it. Some people are hating it. It's just the price point, and I don't really want to pay for all the miniatures. That's why I didn't back it on crowdfunding in the first place, but I love the idea of it. I love the conceptualization of it. I love the chaotic craziness of it. Like, I am chaotic neutral in these games. I like kingmaking. That's my deep, dark, board gaming confession right there. And I love just causing chaos in a game like this where the space station is exploding, you're trying to escape before the other people, and you get to mess with other people, and you get to, not even have a character that you are sole in charge of, but you can manipulate any of them. That just screams me. And if that doesn't scream you, that's okay. But that's also why it has been rocketing up and down the hotness for the majority of this past month. The last one I'm going to talk about here just really briefly, just came onto the edge of the hotness this week, but it has a really intriguing concept, and I think you're going to be intrigued if you have my similar tastes. This one is from Sinister Fish Games. You may know them from the most recent Moons, the previous Streets, as well as Villages, and this is Wizard & Co. Now, why is this intriguing? 2 to 4 players raiding dungeons for loot with a ruthless contest against other greedy. It's my Mr. Burns evil thing right there. Wizards. And so this has hand management, set collection, and some take that. Again, take that, set collection, hand management. Ooh, I likey, me likey. And so what you're doing, though, is you're deploying underlings, entering dungeons, battling with rivals, and battling for loot. You aim to collect the most magical artifacts that you can while placing creature cards face up and face down around the dungeon boards. When no more cards can be placed, the battle takes place where all the creature abilities are triggered in a clockwise order. Dust settles, loot's distributed, go on for a set number of dungeons. It just seems like a perfect 20 to 45 minute game, 2 to 4 players, just craziness. I love the idea of games like this. And so if they can execute it as good as it sounds with just an absolute frick ton of asymmetric powers of creatures and everything else like that. Like, I don't want you know, a dozen and everyone gets a slight distribution. It's, you know, everyone has the same. I want like 60 different ones, right? Like, or 80 different ones, and just absolute sheer craziness. Like a Fantasy Realms-esque version of things where just there's so much, it's just all overpowered, and it just like is awesome. And so that's what I want to see out of this one, and that's why it's on my wish list now as well. I mean, there's no information about when, where, or how, but you know, I could see it going to crowdfunding as those other three that I previously mentioned from them, but also this also gives me more of the smell test of a retail version in addition, and I wouldn't be disappointed by that either. But that's why it's on my personal Hotness and the Hotness of Board Game Geek in addition. One last thing of note here, if you go over to FFG's Twitter account here, they just recently posted this message: incoming transmission, what's your status? We've retrieved intel that is coming, initiate, see you soon. Now, if you look very closely, you'll notice that in the lower right-hand corner here, it actually has Marvel copyright. So people are assuming that this is alluding to whatever is going to be coming out with next with Marvel Champions. People were also kind of hoping that, you know, maybe it'd be something different, you know, like a Star Wars cooperative game or something else along those lines. But we don't know what's coming out right now after the most recent expansion releases of Rogue and Gambit for Marvel Champions. We don't know big box, we don't know small box, we don't know individual characters, anything like that. And so the illusion or the hope is that we're going to get some more details soon from that aspect of things. There you go, news roundup. Doing it more regularly. Lots of stuff to talk about. Always interesting. Always a fun time. Hope you like it. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what else you want to see. That's all I got. Trying to stay classy. Trying to keep it classy. Trying to keep it above board most of the time. I got nothing else. I'm just blabbing now, so. Peace out. See you around. Lots of reviews coming. Lots of reviews. Be warned. Don't skip leg day. Don't skip leg day. Is because the options are plethora.